Dear students, in this presentation I am going to tell you about another bacterial disease, that is gonorrhea, about the organism which causes this disease, and also about the pathogenesis, symptoms, control and treatment of gonorrhea. The causative agent of gonorrheal disease is Neisseria gonorrhoeae. Let me repeat, Neisseria gonorrhoeae. Please go through the spelling correctly so that you won't make mistakes while writing. Neisseria is a very important cocci. After streptococci and staphylococci, then next most important cocci is Neisseria. And streptococci and staphylococci, as you already know, are gram-positive cocci arranged in different ways, whereas Neisseria is a gram-negative cocci. And even in Neisseria, we have two important species. One is Neisseria gonorrhoeae, which you are seeing in the slide. The other one is Neisseria meningitidis. Neisseria gonorrhoeae is basically a sexually transmitted disease, and it can also be generally called as gonococci, whereas Neisseria meningitidis causes brain infection and it is called meningococci. So as I said, Neisseria gonorrhoeae is a gram-negative cocci, gram-negative diplococci. That means they are arranged in pairs. Two cocci will be arranged together as a pair. As you can see in this picture below, you can see two cocci which are arranged in pairs. So it is a diplococci. And in fact, when they are arranged in pairs, they will look like kidney shaped. That means the interior of one cocci will be convex in nature. So both the cocci will be present as convex in nature. So if you take an individual cocci and observe its shape, it will almost look like kidney shaped. And the third important morphological character we need to remember here is, while making a microscopic specimen and look under the microscope, you will usually see this cocci inside the PMN leukocytes. What is meant by that? Polymorphonuclear leukocytes. By this time you must be knowing what is polymorphonuclear leukocytes, because this is one of the very important immune cells that is present in our body. Your neutrophils basically are polymorphonuclear leukocytes. So these organisms will be present, usually seen inside these neutrophils. So what you see here in this picture present above is basically a specimen taken and microscopically observed. So all these cells, what you observe, these are all neutrophils or polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Neutrophils ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮಗೇನು ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾಕೈ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರೋಫಿಲ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರುವ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ತರ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಪಿಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Okay, all these are neutrophil cells inside which you see multi-lobed nucleus. Nucleus ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದಿರಲ್ಲ, multi-lobed ಆಗಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. That is what you are seeing here. Almost here you can see 4 lobes, right? So it is a multi-lobed nucleus. This is how neutrophils are usually observed. Fine. And in these neutrophil cells, what you are seeing like dots, very small dot, pink color dots, these are actually the diplococci I am talking about. Neisseria gonorrhoeae ಈ ತರ neutrophils ಒಳಗಡೆ ಡಾಟ್ 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 ಆಗಿ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೂ ಎನ್ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡುವಾಗ you are going to see it like this, diplococci are arranged in pairs. Fine, I hope you have understood. So when you see them under the microscope from a clinical specimen, this is how you are going to observe them. They will be present inside the neutrophil cells or PMN leukocytes. And if you go further in detail about their morphology, they have pili on their surface, which is going to act as a virulence factor. That means they are going to help in adherence of these cocci on mucosal surfaces. And then these are non-spore forming organisms, non-motile in nature. Coming to capsules, freshly isolated samples. That means when you take them freshly from a clinical specimen observed under the microscope, they might be capsulated. But when you grow them in the laboratory for quite a long period of time, you might not observe the capsular forms. Okay. So coming to the cultural characteristics of this organism, these are fastidious coccus or fastidious cocci. Why? Because they are very specific in the nutritional needs. They can be grown only in special media or enriched media like blood or chocolate agar. And they are basically aerobes in nature, but you can also grow them anaerobically provided you supplement the growth environment with 5 to 10% carbon dioxide. The optimum temperature for growth is 35 to 36 degrees Celsius. And as I said, they are very specific in the nutritional needs. So there are some special media which have been formulated for the growth of Neisseria. And one such selective media that is used is Thayer-Martin medium. Thayer-Martin medium. What is this medium? The composition of this medium is, it is basically chocolate agar, and it contains antibiotics like colistin, nystatin and vancomycin. 3 different antibiotics are included in this medium: colistin, nystatin and vancomycin. Why? See, vancomycin basically inhibits the most of the gram-positive bacteria that could be present in the clinical specimen. See, now clinical specimen tegivaga, ಅದು vaginal swab ಆಗಿರಲಿ, any mucosal swab ಆಗಿರಲಿ, as you know, there will always be normal microflora like streptococci, staphylococci. So ನೀವು cocci and the ಕೂಡಲೇ there will be lot of confusion whether it is gram negative cocci or gram positive cocci. Basically ನೋಡುವಾಗ shape ಒಂದೇ ತರ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. So first thing we want to do is exclude any gram positive cocci that is present in the sample. So for that we are including vancomycin in the medium. Second is nystatin. This inhibits fungi. So any type of normal fungal flora, for example candida tara idre, to avoid the growth of this fungi, we are going to include the nystatin. And colistin inhibits other gram positive bacteria, especially commensal Neisseria irutte. See, Neisseria and the ಕೂಡಲೇ all the species of Neisseria are not going to cause disease. There are certain commensal Neisseria also that is present in our body. So clinical specimen alli idenadru idre, we will have to avoid this Neisseria also. So to inhibit the growth of commensal Neisseria, we are going to add colistin. Fine. And when you cultivate this organism in this medium, the colony characters will be like this. They usually form small, translucent, convex colonies on the medium. Coming to the biochemical characteristics, the most important biochemical test that we are going to do is sugar fermentation test. We are going to use different types of sugars for testing this. One is mainly glucose, second maltose, lactose, sucrose or fructose can be used. Now gonococci, the character of this Neisseria gonorrhoeae is it ferments glucose with the production of acid only. It does not form gas, but it produces acid. So there will be color change in the medium, but there will not be any gas collection in the Derham's tube. But apart from glucose, it does not ferment any other sugar. That is, it will not ferment maltose, lactose, sucrose or fructose. And this particular character we are going to use mainly to differentiate the gonococci from the meningococci. As I said, these are the 2 very important species among the Neisseria genus. One is Neisseria gonorrhoeae and the other one is Neisseria meningitidis. If you take the morphological character, they almost will look the same. So how to differentiate them? You can use this particular sugar fermentation test. See, Neisseria gonorrhoeae utilizes only glucose, whereas Neisseria meningitidis utilizes both glucose and maltose. So if both fermentations are observed in the test tube, then it could be Neisseria meningitidis. But if you see only the fermentation of glucose and no fermentation with other sugars, then you can say that the particular species is Neisseria gonorrhoeae. And apart from this sugar fermentation, you can also do nitrate reduction test. Usually they do not reduce nitrates, and they also do not produce hydrogen sulfide gas, and they are oxidase and catalase positive. Being aerobic organism, naturally they will be positive for catalase reaction. The last character that we are going to see about this organism is antigenic characters. In a fresh specimen, as I said, they will be usually capsulated. So capsular protein can act as an antigen. And of course, as I said, they will have pili on their surface. So this pilin protein, a very important virulence factor, can also act as a very good antigen. And apart from these two antigenic proteins, we have so many other proteins present in this organism, especially on its outer membrane. See, as I said, this is a gram-negative cocci, so it will have a very complex cell wall on its surface apart from peptidoglycan. So what are these complex proteins that are present in the outer membrane? If you see that, these three are very important proteins, which are in fact used in other diagnostic purpose and vaccination purpose also. The first one is pore proteins, which is porin proteins, again which is present in the outer membrane. Second one is the OPA proteins, that is opacity proteins. The nature of the protein is a little different from the pore proteins. And the third protein is RMP protein, which is reduction modifiable proteins. The details beta, you just remember the names of these proteins so that you can use it for some other purpose. So if we see about the disease, that is gonorrheal disease, first thing is gonorrhea is a sexually transmitted disease or a venereal disease. And also it is almost limited to the area which it infects, that is it is primarily a genital infection, restricted to the urethra in men and the cervix in women. I have already told where the cervix is, where the urethra is while talking about normal microflora. So please go through that to understand what are these areas. Okay. So basically they are localized in these areas. Wherever they infect during sexual intercourse, there itself they get limited, they cause infection in that particular region only. So they are restricted to urethra if in case of men, and cervix in case of women. And usually to show the symptoms of the infection, they take around 2 to 8 days. Incubation period is 2 to 8 days. Okay, once the cocci enters during sexual intercourse and gets lodged on the mucosal surface of the individual, the first thing they do is the cocci is going to attach itself on the surface of the mucosal epithelial cells. With the help of pili, they are going to attach on the mucosal epithelial cells, and then they enter inside the cell and start multiplying inside the cell. And not only that, they will start passing from cell to cell, and also they will go to the subepithelial layer. That means you will have a epithelial layer on the mucosal surface, and under that you will find a subepithelial layer space, and they are going to get lodged themselves in this subepithelial space and establish the infection in that area. And for establishing the infection, they need the help of all these proteins, as I already mentioned: pili, OPA proteins, porin proteins, and also an enzyme called beta-lactamase. With the help of all these virulence factors, the organism is going to establish the infection. Now, when the organism establishes the infection, starts multiplying in the subepithelial layer, our immune system is not going to keep silent. They will get activated, and they start sending lot of immune cells in this place where the gonococci has established the infection. So there will be an infiltration of leukocytes in this area, and the leukocytes will try to destroy these gonococcal colonies. And because of all this, there will be epithelial sloughing. Sloughing ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಲೇಯರ್, ಯಾವ ಲೇಯರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗೋನೋಕಾಕ ಇದೆಯೋ ಆ ಲೇಯರ್ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ because of the action of leukocytes, that whole epithelial layer will start getting destroyed and it will start coming out. And because of this epithelial sloughing, there will be small wounds caused inside that mucosal layer, and these wounds are called micro abscesses. So idella elli nadita ide, submucosal region alli nadita ide. So there will be lot of cells here. There will be leukocytes, there will be gonococci, there will be epithelial cells, dead epithelial cells, live epithelial cells. You will find a mixture of cells in this region, and this will result in the production of pus. Andre ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಡೆಡ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮ್ಯೂಕೋಸಲ್ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಕಂಟೈನ್ ದ ಏರಿಯಾ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನೇ ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ಆದ್ರೂ ಅದು ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ಇರಲಿ, ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಡೆ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಆಗುವುದು ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ there will be a protective layer formed around this destroyed cells, and when that forms, it is called pus. Okay, and when all this is happening, one more important factor will be released by our immune cells, and that is tumor necrosis factor, TNF alpha, and many such inflammatory factors will be released by our immune cells, and because of that a lot of allergic reactions you will observe, especially in the area where this gonococci has established the infection. Okay, talking about symptoms, both men and women, the symptoms will be different depending on the site where you find the infection. As I said, in men, the gonorrheal disease is mainly seen in the urethral region, whereas in women, it is seen in the cervical region, right? So let us continue with that. Acute infection in men is seen in approximately 95% of all infected men. See, what I meant to say here is, compared to women, men suffer from a lot of symptoms as far as gonorrhea is concerned. Okay, so in women it is mostly asymptomatic, that is infection idru kuda ಏನು symptoms ಕಾಣಲ್ಲ most of the cases. ಇದ್ರೆ symptoms ಇದ್ರೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ, but in most of the cases women will be asymptomatic even after the infection, whereas in men the symptoms is usually seen in 95% of the cases, and the most important symptom is urethritis, that is there will be inflammation in the urethral region. So how do you see the clinical manifestation? Andre ನೀವು ಯಾವ ತರ ಸಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, there will be burning micturition. ಬರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಮಿಕ್ಟ್ಯೂರಿಷನ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯೂರಿನೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಬರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸೆನ್ಸೇಷನ್, ತುಂಬಾ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಸೆನ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಬರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಮಿಕ್ಟ್ಯೂರಿಷನ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದ ಯೂರಿನ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಥಿನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಟರಿ ಇನ್ ನೇಚರ್. ನಾರ್ಮಲಿ ಯೂರಿನ್ದು ಏನ್ ಥಿಕ್ನೆಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೋ, ಏನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಅದು ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸೀರಸ್ ಯುರಿಥ್ರಲ್ ಡಿಸ್ಚಾರ್ಜ್. So this will be the initial manifestation. Andre beginning of the infection alli ee tara irutte. One is urethritis, which is accompanied with burning urination and also serous urethral discharge. But if the patient is not treated on time, so further what happens is the discharges will become very profuse, very purulent, and also it will become blood tinged. Andre urination ಮಾಡುವಾಗ blood ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಬರಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So this will be the case in the serious untreated patients. Okay, whereas gonorrhea in women is a little different. As I said, in women it is not the urethra that is affected, it is the endocervix, the cervical region that is affected. So endocervix is the primary site of infection because gonococci invade only the endocervical epithelial cells. They cannot infect all type of cells, they can infect only the epithelial cells present in the endocervical region. In most of the cases 80 to 90% of the case alli ee place alle infection agutte. But as I said, even after infection most of the women will be totally asymptomatic, they will not show symptoms. But symptoms idre, how will you find the symptoms? The presence of vaginal discharge, andre white discharge agutte alva vaginal region inda, so that might be observed. Or dysuria andre while urinating there will be lot of pain, lower abdominal pain irutte. Or ಡಿಸ್ಪೆರೋನಿಯಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಇಂಟರ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ತುಂಬಾ ಪೇನ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಯೂರಿಯಾ ಆರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪೆರೋನಿಯಾ ಆರ್ ಮೈಲ್ಡ್ ಲೋವರ್ ಅಬ್ಡಾಮಿನಲ್ ಪೇನ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ದಿ ಮೇನ್ ಸಿಂಪ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ ವುಮೆನ್. Okay, how to detect this disease from the clinical specimens? So you can take different types of clinical specimens. As I said before, the two main specimens that we are going to use, one is from male, it is going to be pus and secretions from the urethral region, whereas from the female, the clinical specimen will be pus and secretions taken from the cervical region. Sometimes you can take secretions or swabs from the rectal region. ಇದು ಯಾವಾಗ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ if the person is having anal sex ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಆಗ rectal samples ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕು, or you have to take throat samples. Sometimes throat ಅಲ್ಲಿ infection, very rarely it happens, ಆಗುತ್ತೆ when the person is having oral sex. So ಇದು ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ rectal swabs or throat swabs can be used for diagnosis. Conjunctiva ಯಾವಾಗ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ this is mainly taken from kids. ನ್ಯೂ born infants ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಇವರಿಗೆ sometimes gonococcal infection can happen in the conjunctival region. How? During normal delivery, when the baby is coming out through the vaginal area, ಅಲ್ಲಿ infection ಇದ್ರೆ, cervical region ಅಲ್ಲಿ infection ಇದ್ರೆ, ಆ infection ಮಗು ಕಣ್ಣಿಗೆ spread ಆಗಿ ಅದರಿಂದ conjunctival infection ಆಗಬಹುದು. This is called ophthalmia neonatorum. So ಈ ತರ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು sexually transmitted organisms can infect the eye of the newborn infant. So ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ophthalmia neonatorum ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. So even gonococci can do such infection. So in that case we are going to take conjunctival samples or conjunctival swabs from the newborn infants. So any of this can act as the clinical specimen. So what type of diagnosis is done? Usually 3 types. One is the direct smear examination. So suppose if you are taking swabs from these areas, you can directly go for slide preparation, gram staining, and then looking them under the microscope. Gram staining procedure you know, but how are we going to observe the specimen under the microscope? As I already showed you in the microscope morphological character, they are usually seen inside the neutrophil cells. Small dots tara neutrophil cells ಒಳಗಡೆ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. You have to observe these diplococci inside the neutrophil cells. Okay, now the second type of detection is culture. That is, whatever sample you take, pus or secretions or sometimes swabs, whatever samples you take, you just go and inoculate them on 2 important media. One is the enriched media, the other one is the selective media. Enriched media is the blood agar and the selective media is the Thayer-Martin medium, which contains antibiotics in it. You observe the colony characters of this organism, and also from that again you can go for gram staining and see the diplococci, and of course you can also do the oxidase test, and if you get positive oxidase reaction with this culture that is grown on the selective media, it is suggestive of gonococcal infection. And the third most commonly done and most rapid test is immunological test. Here what we are going to do is, we are not going to take these samples, instead we are going to take blood. So from blood we are going to separate the serum, and in the serum we are going to detect the presence of antibodies specific to this gonococci. As I said before, there are certain antigens which is very specific for gonococci. One is pili, and there are 3 other antigens I mentioned before which is present in the outer membrane. Right? So for these antigens there will be antibodies generated inside the patient's serum. So what you have to do is take that serum and go for detecting these antibodies either by doing ELISA or by doing immunoblotting, or you can also go for radioimmunoassays. So by doing any one of these immunological tests, you can find out the presence or absence of antibodies against the pili and other outer membrane proteins of gonococci. So for treatment of gonorrheal disease, the most important drug of choice is penicillin. But for penicillin sensitive patients, that means there are certain people who are allergic to penicillin. So for such people, you can use pectinomycin, tetracycline, doxycycline, or ceftriaxone. Any of these drugs can be used, but again, just like any other pathogen, this organism has also developed resistance to penicillin. In most of the places, it is becoming resistant to penicillin. So prevention is better than cure, we know that. So how to prevent this disease? Unfortunately, we don't have any effective vaccine until now for this disease. So only general measures we need to take to avoid this disease. First one is health education. That means your immune system should be stronger, and for that you need to have a healthy lifestyle, healthy food and hygienic practices even during sex. So all these must be taught at the school level, at the college level, to make the people aware of this disease. Second is, see, one important problem here is most of the times women who are infected will not show any type of symptoms. They will be totally asymptomatic. So because of that, it becomes very difficult sometimes to control this disease. So what we need to do here is, we need to be aware, each and every individual need to be aware, if a male gets an infection, if he is suffering from this particular gonorrheal disease, see to it that his female partner is not infected, or go for detecting this person also, do some diagnostics test to the female partner to whom he is having sex. So this is very important to control the spread of the infection. So we need to trace the context, because many a times what happens is, when a male person has multiple sex partners, in such cases also it becomes very difficult who is having the infection, who is not having the infection. So contact tracing, ಯಾವ ತರ ಈಗ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಟ್ರೇಸಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಇದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಸಿ ಅಲ್ಲಾದ್ರೂ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಗ್ಮಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, anybody can get the disease, so contact tracing becomes a little easier. But here, since this is a sexually transmitted disease, no one will come out and tell I have been in contact with this person. No one will come out and tell. So it becomes a very difficult task for us to find out with whom and all he has had sexual contact. So finding this out and making sure that these people are not having infection is a very important preventive measure that we should take. And not only that, if you cannot avoid sex, then at least you have safe sex. That means you use condoms, some type of preventive measure you have to take before having sex. So ಇದನ್ನಾದ್ರೂ at least, ಈಗ female ಗೆ ಇದೆ sex avoid ಮಾಡಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಆದ್ರೆ, male should use some kind of a protective barrier to avoid getting infected. So ಇದನ್ನ HIV ಗೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Same way, any type of sexually transmitted diseases, as a general measure we need to keep all these in mind. First is health education, second is early detection of infective cases, third is tracing the contacts. One person if he gets, we need to assure that with whom and all he has had sexual contact, we have to find them out, we have to get them tested, find out who is infected and who is not infected. All this must be done, and educate them to have safe sex. So the last topic I'm going to cover here is epidemiology of gonorrhea. Gonococcal infection is reported throughout the world, but it is more prominent in developing countries as usual. Developed countries alli esto control madidare, but in developed countries it is still a problem. And Neisseria gonorrhoeae is exclusively a human pathogens, and only humans are the reservoirs. See, this one thing is advantageous for us. There is no animal reservoirs, and it does not get spread through air or any other ways of transmission. It gets transmitted only through sexual contact. So that is why Neisseria gonorrhoeae is exclusively a human pathogen, and the organism is seen only in human beings. Only humans are the reservoirs, and the infection, as I said, is usually transmitted by sexual contact, sometimes less frequently by other means. As I already mentioned, during the delivery of a newborn infant, through the normal route, it can get infected from the mother, and the infection is usually seen in the conjunctival region. So that is all about the gonorrheal disease. I hope you have understood. Thank you.